Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel where today, well actually tomorrow, I start my journey back into a Ford Capri. I'll explain lots more about that later. You'll notice that I'm driving my Rover 800 Vitesse today, which just come out of the barn, out of winter storage and ready to go on the road for 2023. For those of you who are particularly eagle-eyed, and if the camera's picking it up, you'll notice this car isn't fitted with its spoiler right now. And that's because if you've been following this car, you'll know that after it was restored, I put it in the garage one day and I just caught the spoiler as I closed the door and marked it here. I'll show you a picture. So the spoiler's off, it's been repainted and I'm driving this car in to have it refitted. Well, there's a video coming about this car to the channel very, very soon where I recommission it a little bit to come back onto the road and I take it on a nice road trip. So please do stay tuned for all of that. Anyway, back to the subject of this video. And if you've been watching the channel, then you'll know that I recently bought a Ford Granada from a subscriber. And I really liked the car, but I knew that I wasn't really going to use it that much. So at the end of the video, which I featured on that car, well, I gave a shout out to say if anyone's out there, an enthusiast who wants to use and improve the car, well, get in touch. I loved it, but I was willing to let it go. And well, Rob did get in touch. We agreed a deal. And he came across and he took the car back to Ireland where he's already started to improve and to use and enjoy the Granada. Good luck, Rob. It's a great car and I'm really going to miss it. Now, I've got the permanent members of my car collection, but I also seem to have this kind of temporary slot that I use to buy and enjoy cars for a period of time, cars that really interest me. What have I had there? I've had the Sierra GL, a lovely car. I had that great Jaguar S-Type R and most recently the Granada. But that slot's now vacant. Well, that got me thinking. I got £1,550 for the Granada. So I'm going to use that money to buy something else. Now the Granada, it came from Cornwall. And well, I'm a Cornish car channel. So I thought whatever I buy should really come from Cornwall, ideally. And I've been looking around and I found something. And it's only an hour away from my house in St Austell. So I contacted the guy, I've done the deal, and well, tomorrow we're off to pick up a Ford Cougar, a V6. I can't wait, I love the Cougar. And that starts my journey back into a Ford Capri. So join me tomorrow as we go down and collect the car. And if you like this video, don't forget to click like. If you like the Ford Cougar, got views on the Ford Cougar or anything at all to do with the Granada or my car antics, please do get in touch in the comments below. And do subscribe to follow my journey back into a Capri and everything else that we do here on the channel. Right, I'll see you in the morning. It's fairly early on Sunday morning and I'm waiting for my friend Stefan, who's kindly offered to give me a lift the hour or so down into Cornwall to St Austell to pick up the Ford Cougar. Let's hope it's as good as these pictures from the advert look. Look, here he comes now. Stefan's a big Italian car fan. In fact, last year, along with his son, Bryn, he was showing his Alfa Romeo GTV. What a lovely car. And here he is today in his Fiat 500L. He loves these things. Hello, mate.
Good morning.
Ready to get Cougar?
We do. I am. We do love an early start of petrol cars.
Oh, we do. We love it. Right, we've just arrived and here it is. First look at the Ford Cougar. Looks great here in silver. I wasn't sure I was going to like it, but I really do. Walking around the car, it's got some upgraded brakes there, Rossini's. They look good. And walking along the side, cool, isn't it smart? Looks in really good condition. Oh, I'm blown away by it. And around the back here, wow, look at that. Just looks so good from the back. Those bulbous lights look fantastic. And we'll keep going round. Nice to see the car on its original wheels. Those 6-spoke Cougar wheels look great. No other wheel to have on these cars. And let's open it up. Yeah, look in there, look. Looks absolutely fantastic. Lovely and original. Love those seats. Right. Let's get the deal done and take it home. Looks great. Well, I've bought it. I'm back in a Ford Cougar after, what, a 10 or so year break? And well, this feels all very familiar indeed. And the car is driving really nicely. It certainly is as described. You'll have seen in the video footage that I put up just now as I walked up to the car, it's a cracking looking thing in silver frost metallic. Not the colour I would have chosen, but I think it looks really nice. In fact, I'm over the moon with it. Bought it from a lovely family, the Ford family. Here they are, father and son. And here I am shaking hands with possibly the person with the coolest name that I've ever bought a car from. Harrison Ford. If you're watching, a big shout out to you. You've got a great taste in cars, and I promise I'll look after this one. Now, the Ford Cougar, when it was new, it got a fair amount of criticism from the motoring press due to the plasticky finish of the interior. So lots of the feedback was about the interior. And yeah, there's lots of plastic in here. But I've always found these to be, and similar to the ST24 and the ST200 Mondeo, cousins of this car, I've always found it to be a really solid, high quality kind of feeling car. It really is lovely, silky smooth, drives so nicely. You feel, gives you great road confidence. It's a lovely car to drive. And well, I'm looking forward to the 55 or so minute drive back in my Ford Cougar. It's driving lovely. This car came with a few keys and a bit of service history, which again adds to my confidence that I'm going to make it home because it's been a well looked after car. I believe it's a 3-owner from new car, which is nice. And in fact, it's got a bit of a gap in its MOT history, about 9 years, I believe, as one of the previous owners sadly passed away, and this remained in their garage for that period of time. And only, last year was recommissioned and put back on the road. And whoever did that, they've done a nice job. It really, the engine pulls so nicely, it's really smooth. The 170 brake horsepower is delivered in a very linear way. This isn't a fast car as such, but it is an effortless cruiser. It's lovely, lovely old thing. Also in here, I'm sat in these really comfortable leather seats. Boy, they take me back to my previous Cougar. I prefer these over the Cougar 2 seats. I think they look great and, well, they feel really comfortable. Yeah, this is a nice car. Important though that we do our system checks. Now again, this car was laid up for 9 or so years, and as I understand it, when it was recommissioned, there were a few of the buttons on the dashboard that took a little bit of waking up, but they seem, or I've been told, they all work. So let's have a go. Stereo first of all. Yeah, that's come on. Turn that down a bit. No copyright breaches here on the channel. Yeah, that comes on nicely, and it's got the 6-disc CD changer there in the boot. I've got air conditioning that all seems to be working here. Different to my previous Cougar, this one hasn't got the heated front screen. Crazy as it sounds, it was an option actually from Ford on the Cougar. Heated rear screen, traction control, but no heated front screen. The onboard computer works well. Just click through. So we've got temperature, we've got average miles per hour, we've got the trip computer there, and we've got a range of 75 miles. This car came with about 85 miles worth of fuel, which is nice, and an average MPG, in fact no, it's a current MPG of 22.5. So that's all working well. 78,240 miles on this car when I bought it, so a nice low mileage car. Got electric windows here and electric mirrors as well, which is great. Options this car doesn't have, it doesn't have the sunroof, nor does it have the cruise control. So there are a couple of things that are missing from it, but I believe this car has the X-Pack, I think they called it, which is all of the air conditioning. And sat here driving this Cougar, well, you wouldn't forget you were in a Cougar. There's a lovely Cougar badge here on the steering wheel, and as you look around the car, nice Cougar badges here as well on the door cards. In fact, nothing in here says Ford. That's probably because this car was sold as the Mercury Cougar in America. Do you know, it's got a really subtle 6-cylinder sound on this car, which I quite like. My previous Cougar had the twin exhaust modification done on it, and yeah, it sounded more aggressive than this. But there's something about this subtle noise coming from this car that, well, I really, really like. And, well, I just think it's nice to have a 6-cylinder car back in the collection. And a coupe for the first time in a long time. Really, really nice to have it. I'm certainly going to be using this car. And well, as I said earlier in the video, this car kind of fills that temporary position that we have in the collection that previously was held by the Granada and the Jaguar and the Sierra, as I've already said. And whilst this car might be temporary, for some reason, in comparison to all of those cars, I think I'm going to struggle most to move this one on because, well, I really, really like it. I love a Ford Coupe, so maybe this will be hanging around a little bit longer. We will find out, and we'll find out together here on the channel. Right, it's not far from me now to get home, about 20 minutes or so. So I think what I'll do is I'll drive this. I have every confidence now this car's going to make it, having driven sort of 15, 20 miles in it already. So I will probably see you in about a week's time for me, but it'll be a few seconds for you where we can take the camera around this. It'll be a week or so, sorry, because the forecast here in Cornwall is pretty rubbish for the week ahead. So some seconds for you, a few days for me, but let's take a decent look around this car. It's been more than a week since I bought this Ford Cougar. In fact, it's been around 3 weeks, and well, I've been using and enjoying this car, so much so that I've actually done over 1,100 miles in this car in 3 weeks. This Cougar has proven totally reliable. It's been comfortable and it's been great to drive, and this car has returned over 33 miles per gallon. There's so much going for this car, and just look how pretty it is. Regular viewers of the channel, well, you'll know that I love this new edge Ford design. After all, I already own a Ford Sport Car, a Focus RS, and an old Mondeo, all from this era of Ford's design. I honestly believe that you could produce this car today and this car's smaller brother, the Ford Puma, and both cars would sell well. I really do believe this is a timeless design. It's aged so well. Now, it's not all good. Driving this Cougar as much as I have over these past 3 weeks, well, I've been reminded of two things. And I say reminded because I felt exactly the same when I owned one of these, a blue one, just over 10 years ago. And the first thing is, the Cougar would benefit from a 6th gear. When travelling at high speeds in this car, it's just crying out for one more gear. And I think, well, it would transform this car on motorway drives. After all, this is a GT car of sorts and deserves to be cruising along at high speeds. That 6-speed would make such a difference. The other thing, and this one's annoying, inside the cabin of this car, as pretty as it is, the storage is absolutely rubbish. The door bins in the door cards, well, they are tiny. And being a coupe, well, the glove compartment is a real stretch to reach. And as for the storage underneath the armrest, well, that's just not practical at all. And there is nowhere else in this car to store anything. So that means that I put my wallet, my phone, my drink bottle, all on the passenger seat, and that all ends up on the floor when kind of cornering with any real gusto in this car or under braking. It's annoying. Also, one other thing, it's been fairly wet these past 3 weeks, and you'll see that one of the headlights on the Cougar has condensated up, so I'm going to need to sort that out. But beside these things, the Cougar has been blimmin' brilliant. I love this thing. I just love the frameless doors on this car, the retro air vents, the lovely design of the seats. Which reminds me, I forgot to mention earlier in the video that this car actually comes with heated front seats and an electric driver's seat. I've already said how much I love the design of this car, the badge on this car, and the binnacle of warning lights here above your head. This is such a cool car. So cool, in fact, that Dennis Hopper was actually featured in the advert for this car when new. Born to be Wild, the original Easy Rider. I just love European Ford coupes. After all, it was over 50 years ago in 1969 that Ford launched the Capri, the European Mustang, and intended it to be fast and fun for, well, not too much money. These 2+2 two-door Fords really hit the spot, and well, my passion for them came from my granddad, who had a few, with the one I remember most fondly being his Mark III grey Ford Capri Laser. I absolutely adored that car. No surprises then that I owned one just over 20 years ago, another car I should never have sold. Now, Ford tried to repeat the success of the Capri with, in 1996, the Ford Probe, which was born out of Ford's partnership with Mazda. I think these cars are brilliant, and I've actually had 3 of them. The much successful Ford Puma came next in 1997, which was based on the Mark V Fiesta. Again, I have owned a couple of these, but I bang my head every single time I get in one. And the most recent Ford Coupe, with the Ford Probe failing really to revive the magic of the Ford Capri, was the Ford Cougar in 1998. Built in the US, I believe in Detroit, and then shipped across to Germany where they were converted to right-hand drive, had a Ford badge stuck on the front. Well, it's fair to say the Cougar wasn't a big success, and sales for the Cougar ended in 2002 after a short-lived facelift Ford Cougar was launched in 2001. The Cougar II had a new design headlight, alloy wheels, seats and some other interior changes, but the engine options remained the same with the 2-litre Zetec or the 2.5-litre Duratec, which I believe was also offered as an automatic. Since the Cougar, well, we haven't seen another European Ford Coupe, which I think is a real shame. And that's despite all of the rumours about the revival of the Ford Capri, which continues today, with rumours just this year about an all-electric Capri coming soon to the Ford range. And of course, now directly sold in the UK, you can buy a right-hand drive Ford Mustang. So why would Ford ever invest the money to design and produce a coupe just for the European market? I don't think we'll ever see a return of this type of car. It's such a shame. Anyway, why does this car mark the beginning of the journey back to a Capri for me? Well, when new, Ford marketed the Capri as the car you always promise yourself. And I'm promising myself one. I'm going to get another Capri, having owned one over 20 years ago. That's right, I want another Capri eventually back in my collection. And I'm going to trade up to it using the temporary slot in my collection to have some fun with some cars along the way. I reckon it'll take me a couple of years to do it. We started with the Granada, next came this Ford Cougar V6, a Capri successor, and then who knows what's going to come next. So keep watching and stay tuned to the channel for all of that. One thing's for certain, it's really nice to have a 6-cylinder back in the collection. I've been missing one after my MG ZS 180 left a few months ago. And it's great to be back in a Ford Coupe or a Mercury if we're watching this from the US. And do you know what? Making this video, living with this car, buying this car has reminded me just how good the Ford Cougar is. After all, this is based on an ST24 or ST200 Mondeo, and they're great cars, and so is this. I can't really understand why values of these aren't rocketing up. They sold in such lower numbers than the Capri or the Mustang. This is a rare car. When was the last time you saw one on the road? I know that it's a love it or hate it kind of car. You'll have your own opinion on the Ford Cougar. But if you're still watching, I would urge anyone to go out and try a Ford Cougar. They're brilliant. So brilliant, in fact, that I'm going to keep it. I'm not selling this car. I've absolutely fallen in love with it. It ticks 2 boxes in the collection. It's a coupe and it's a 6-cylinder. 2 things we didn't have before we bought this into the car collection. Yep, I'm definitely keeping it. But that means that if I'm keeping this, then I've got to sell something else to help me along the way to the Ford Capri. And I'm going to sell this. My MG ZR 160. I don't use the car very much. I love it. I love the way it looks, but I don't use it very much. So I'm going to sell it and I'm going to keep this in its place. It's actually parked just out of shot over there. It's very pretty. In fact, I'm not going to look at it for much longer. I'm going to go straight home and put it on eBay, because if I don't, I'll end up keeping that as well. Thank you everyone so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed my feature on the Ford Cougar. If you did, please do click like on the video. If you've got an opinion about this car, the MG, or anything else in the car collection, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. I try and write back to everyone. And don't forget to subscribe, really helps the channel, and you can follow everything that I get up to with this and all of my other cars. Thank you so much for watching. Hope to see you again on the next one. Bye for now. Bye-bye.